Today, I want to share three stories from my life. Just three stories. The first story is about connecting the dots. After 6 months at Reed College, I dropped out. Well, technically, I stayed around for another 18 months before I finally decided to leave for good. So why did I drop out? It actually started before I was even born. My biological mother was a young unmarried college student, and she decided to put me up for adoption. She very much wanted me to be adopted by college graduates. So on the day I was born, a lawyer and his wife had agreed to take me in. But as soon as I arrived, and it became clear I wasn't a baby girl, they changed their minds. That's when the couple who would become my parents got a call in the middle of the night. "We have an unexpected baby boy. Do you want him?" "Of course," they said. Later, when my biological mother discovered that my mother had never graduated from college and my father hadn't even finished high school, she refused to sign the adoption papers. She only agreed a few months later, once my parents promised that one day they would send me to college. And that's how my life began. 17 years later, I went to college. But I had chosen a school that was almost as expensive as Stanford, and all of my working-class parents' savings were poured into my tuition. After 6 months, I realized that college wasn't for me. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, and I couldn't see how college was going to help me figure it out. Meanwhile, I was spending every penny my parents had saved. That weighed heavily on me, and eventually I decided to drop out. At the time, it was terrifying. But looking back now, I can see that dropping out was one of the best decisions I ever made. The moment I decided to leave, I stopped taking the required classes and started sitting in on the ones that truly fascinated me. Life wasn't easy. I didn't have a dorm room, so I slept on the floor in friends' rooms. I collected and returned 5-cent soda bottles to buy food. And every Sunday night, I would walk 10 kilometers across town to the Hare Krishna temple for a free meal. Much of what I stumbled into during that time turned out to be priceless later on. For example, Reed College offered what was perhaps the best calligraphy instruction in the world. Every poster, every label on campus was beautifully hand-lettered. Because I had dropped out and wasn't required to take the regular classes, I decided to take a calligraphy course. I learned about serif and sans serif typefaces and about the subtle variations that make great typography truly great. Calligraphy was something so beautiful, so historical, so artistically subtle that even science couldn't fully capture it. At the time, I never imagined how I could possibly apply it in my life. But 10 years later, when we were designing the first Macintosh, it all came back to me. We built into the Mac everything I had learned in that calligraphy class. If I had never taken that course, Macs would never have had such beautiful typography. And since Windows just copied the Mac, it's fair to say no personal computer would have had good typography either. Of course, it was impossible to connect those dots looking forward when I was in college. But it was very, very clear looking backward 10 years later. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Believing that the dots will connect down the road gives you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that can make all the difference. My second story is about love and loss. I was lucky. I found what I loved to do early in life. Steve Wozniak and I started Apple in my parents' garage when I was 20. We worked hard, and in just 10 years, Apple grew into a $2 billion company with over 4,000 employees. A year before I turned 30, we had just released our finest creation, the Macintosh. And then I got fired. How can you get fired from the company you started? Well, as Apple grew, I hired someone I thought was incredibly talented to help me run the company. For a while, things went really well, but eventually our visions for the future began to diverge. And when they did, our relationship soured. The board of directors sided with him. And so at 30, I was out, and very publicly out. What had been the focus of my entire adult life was gone, and it was devastating. For a few months, I didn't really know what to do. I felt like I had let down the previous generation of entrepreneurs, that I had dropped the baton as it was being passed to me. I even met with David Packard and Bob Noyce and tried to apologize for having messed things up so badly. It was a very public failure, and I even thought about leaving Silicon Valley altogether. But something slowly began to dawn on me. I still loved what I did. I had been fired from Apple, but I still loved what I did. So I decided to start over. I didn't see it at the time, but looking back now, I can say with certainty that being fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. The heaviness of success was gone, replaced by the lightness of starting over. I was less sure of everything, and it freed me to enter the most creative period of my life. Over the next 5 years, I started 2 companies, Next and Pixar, and fell in love with a wonderful woman who would become my wife. Pixar created Toy Story, the world's first computer-animated feature film, which went on to become the most successful animated movie of all time. In the meantime, Apple acquired Next, and I returned to Apple. The technology we developed at Next sparked a renaissance at Apple. Had I never been fired from Apple, none of this would have happened. It was a very painful medicine, but necessary to heal me. Sometimes life hits you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. The only thing that kept me going was that I loved what I did. You've got to find what you love and the people you love. Your work will fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. Keep looking and don't settle for your fate. When I was 17, I read a quote that made a deep impression on me. If you live each day as if it were your last, someday you'll most certainly be right. Since then, 33 years ago, every morning when I look in the mirror, I ask myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Knowing that I will one day die has been the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make big choices in life. Because all failures, all fears, will eventually be dwarfed by the reality of death. What remains are only the truly important things. Knowing that you are going to die is also a good way to escape the trap of thinking you have something to lose. There is no reason not to follow your passions. A year ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. At 7:30 in the morning, a scan revealed a tumor in my pancreas. Until that moment, I didn't even know what a pancreas was. The doctors told me the cancer was untreatable and that I had 3 to 6 months to live. They told me to go home and get my affairs in order. In other words, it was a message to prepare for death. It meant preparing my family in the easiest way possible and saying goodbye. That evening, I underwent a biopsy. An endoscopic tube was inserted through my throat, passed through my stomach and intestines, and a few tumor cells were taken from my pancreas. My wife and the doctors examined the cells under a microscope and discovered that the tumor could be successfully removed through surgery. The closest I have ever come to death was during that experience, and I hope that over the next 20 to 30 years, I never come that close again. Having gone through something like this, I can tell you that death is fundamentally a mental construct. No one wants to die. Not even people who want to go to heaven want to die. Yet death is the one place we are all destined to go. No one has ever escaped it, and death is perhaps life's greatest invention. Death is the change agent of life. It clears out the old to make way for the new. Right now, this is the new you. One day you too will age and fade away. I'm sorry to put it this way, but I'm telling you the truth. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. When I was young, there was a publication called the Whole Earth Catalog. It was something like a Bible for our generation, a poetic book written by Stuart Brand. In the late 1960s, when personal computers and desktop publishing didn't exist, the entire book was designed with typewriters, scissors, and Polaroid cameras. You could call it a 35 years prior version of Google Books, highly idealistic, brilliantly conceptualized, and beautifully put together. Stewart and his team published several issues, with the final edition appearing in the 1970s. On the back cover of the last issue was a photograph of a winding country road taken in the early morning, accompanied by the words, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." I have always taken that as my own motto, and now I wish the same for you. Stay hungry, stay foolish. Thank you.